So what is up, guys? Zach and Austin back here, and welcome to Fight Night Central. Today, we will be breaking down UFC 235. We'll be going through the main card, the prelims, and we actually have a guy on the early prelims to take a look out for.
Yeah, Edmund Shahbazyan is his name. He's 21 years old, 8-0, 7 knockouts. He's only had one fight inside the UFC. That was against Darren Stewart, which he won by split decision. But Darren Stewart has kind of shown to not be an easy out. Yeah. So, definitely a guy to keep an eye on. I'm not going to say this is your next big thing, but definitely if you have, I think he's on the Fight Pass, or I guess it's all ESPN Plus now.
I think so.
Regardless, he's on the earliest part of the card.
Yep.
So, if you got time, if you got the UFC Plus, or ESPN Plus, check him out.
Check him out, yeah. Might end early. So, I think after that, we will skip ahead to the first actual prelim fight with Diego Sanchez versus Mickey Gall. And personally, just to get down to it, I think Diego's time has passed him. I think he's a little bit washed up. And not that I think Mickey Gall is anything super spectacular, but I think he's going to look the part against Diego. He'll probably be able to close the distance. Diego's not the scary striker that he once was. I think Mickey will close the distance, find a way to grab a hold of him, and probably sink in a rear naked like he seemingly always does.
Yep, got similar thought process. I mean, Diego's chin just isn't there anymore. Mickey Gall is, despite being known more as a grappler, has shown some pretty, I don't want to say super impressive, but better than expected striking.
Yep.
He's got some heavy hands. So I think he's actually going to get his first TKO win against Diego at 37 years old. There's a lot of miles on that chin.
Yep. Very true. And so to move on to some kind of somewhat younger fighters when it comes to the UFC perspective of Perez versus Stamann, I think for me the big contributing factor in this is the fact that Cody just has a much more active ground game in terms of trying to control where the fight takes place. And so when I was looking back and forth between these guys who they fought, Cody recently lost to Aljo, and we saw that he is a formidable opponent. He's looking pretty good now in that division. So
I was very impressed with him going in there and just picking Jimmy Rivera apart because I didn't think that fight was going to go like that at all. So losing to Aljo isn't near a knock by any means. So I don't really have anything for this. I would say just off of the little bit of familiarity I have with him, Stamann's takedowns are probably going to be what wins the
I think
day.
that'll be the contributing factor for him to win as well.
Yeah.
Now on to a potential banger of a fight with Cirkunov versus Johnny Walker.
Who, according to the UFC, is still absorbing 30 strikes a minute.
Absorbing. 29 point something strikes per minute.
So, hell of a chin on the guy.
Hell of a chin. Especially in how quick his fights have actually been ending. The matter of fact that he can eat that many shots, consistently so fast. Impressive, Johnny. Impressive.
That being said, you got this is more of a striker grappler matchup. Cirkunov's got some pretty impressive jiu-jitsu from the top, and Johnny Walker, as we've seen, is just coming in and he's just marking guys. And
so it gets weird because we haven't seen much of Walker's ground game yet to know how good he will be at avoiding takedowns, getting up if he gets taken down.
Mm-hmm.
If he's taken down and Cirkunov can actually hold him down, is he going to be good enough? Is his jiu-jitsu strong enough to wield off any sort of submission attempts? So that's the huge question mark here for me. So you have Johnny Walker, who's just come in and has just been putting guys to sleep. He's a tall, lanky guy going against a stockier, grappling-oriented Cirkunov. Walker's been really hot recently. Cirkunov has had his ups and downs.
Yep.
So if you wanted to ride that, Walker might have the hot hand to come in and finish Cirkunov. This one's actually a tough fight, because originally when I was thinking, I was just like, a seasoned guy like Cirkunov hopefully won't get caught in the antics of a guy like Johnny Walker and will just do what he does, be calm, control the fight, take it where he wants to go, implement his game plan. But with a guy like Johnny Walker being this up-and-coming star who has had a couple of really hot finishes recently, if he can get Cirkunov in an exchange early and get his blood riled, he might be able just to catch him early and put it away right there.
Yeah. I mean, both of these guys are finishers.
Yep.
Between the two of them, there's 3 total decisions, and neither one of them has lost a decision. Not that I think it's going to make it that far.
Yeah.
But never say never. To your point about Johnny's grappling defense, he does have 1 submission loss. I don't know how early in his career that came, though. I mean, it could be one of those situations that you see frequently where it's his first fight.
Right.
But he has been knocked out a couple times, too. So he can be finished. Cirkunov also, he's been knocked out twice, been subbed twice. The thing with Cirkunov that kind of sticks in my mind, my lasting memory of him right now is Volkan when he first came in, caught him right on the ear, and he was out cold. So I think that just from what Johnny Walker has shown, I'm going to say that the streak is going to continue. He's going to come out with another impressive showing over a top 10 guy or top 15, whatever he's ranked. And I think he's going to get it done inside 1.
Just because that's a lot more exciting than I was seeing it as Cirkunov closing the distance and riding Walker out for potentially 3 rounds to secure a decision win. I'm going to go with Johnny Walker, first round knockout as well. That's a lot more fun.
So, moving on
to another banger.
Which, I mean, on a free card, this could be a main event.
Yeah.
So, this is a potential fight of the night.
This
very strong
be a really
fight
good
of the night. With Jeremy Stephens and Zabit Magomed Sharipov. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
Zabit has looked like a murderer since coming.
He's just looked so good everywhere.
Yeah.
His striking looks super technical. He can pull a sub out of almost anywhere. And if he wants to take you down, he probably will.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not really a hole in his game that we've seen so far.
Yep.
To this point, the guy has looked like just the next big thing at 45.
Yeah.
Stephens is what he is at this point in his career. His UFC record is 16-14, but he's by no means an easy out. He's coming in there, he's going to bite down on his mouthpiece, and he's going to try and take your head off.
And he can do it at any time in that fight. He's got the biggest right hand in that division.
Oh, for sure. I mean, his last fight against Jose, I mean, you're the biggest Aldo fan I know, and you thought he was going to...
I did not expect Aldo to be able to pull that out. When I saw that body shot land, I was like, oh, a glimmer of hope! He's coming back!
Yeah, so, I mean, Stephens is a threat even at... I mean, he's only 32 years old, and he's got 43 career fights. Ton of experience.
Yep.
But as far as how this fight goes, Stephens reminds me, his style's kind of like, who's that dude that impressed against Zabit? Not his last fight, the fight before.
I can see his face.
Bochniak.
Kyle Bochniak.
Stephens has a style very similar to that, where he's going to pressure you, he's going to try and put you on your back
He'll
foot.
stand right in front of you.
Yep, he's going to stand in the pocket and throw. So we've already seen Zabit deal with somebody like that. Stephens is a higher level of that, obviously.
Yep.
But I think that this ends very similarly, where Zabit just breaks out the fancy stuff.
Yeah, I think Zabit will pick him apart.
Yeah.
Now, if he can catch him with some sort of body shot in a similar way to Aldo, maybe he finishes it early, but just with how Zabit fights and how technical he is, I think he'll just 3-round decision him.
Yeah, that's what I got. I got decision. He hasn't really... he's not a big finisher by any means. Almost half of his wins have come by decision, so I think that's the way it's going to go. But, I mean, like we said, who knows what's Zabit? You don't know what his game plan is going to be fight to fight. So, another knee bar from the back.
Yeah.
Definitely just keep an eye on
We'll just have to see on Saturday what he
Yeah.
manages to pull out.
Yeah, and that's, like we said, that's your featured fight of the prelims.
ESPN. Yep.
Yeah, so definitely
Tune in for that.
If you're not getting the pay-per-view, if you don't have ESPN Plus, tune in for this fight because...
Yep, the last two fights, actually. Those last two fights are definitely good ones to catch.
Yeah, if you're not fully sold on MMA, there's a good chance those two will sell you on it. So...
On to the pay-per-view, though.
Yep. I'll let you start because I'm probably going to have a lot to say about this. Or not, we'll see.
Well, I think you'll at least like what I have to say, and so take it back to the fights that Cody had before he fought TJ. Cody was undefeated before he fought TJ.
Yep.
And he fought arguably the best bantamweight of all time in Dominic Cruz. And dismantled him.
Outclassed him.
And dismantled Dominic Cruz. I do not see Munhoz being able to compete at that level that Cody can perform at. The only way I see Cody losing is if he doesn't show up. If these two losses have gotten in his head so bad and he doesn't have that same tenacity that he used to have in that octagon, that's the only way I see him losing. Because I think if he performs at the high level that he's capable of, that we have seen him perform at, I don't see there's a way he loses that fight.
Yep.
I think he should not only win that fight, but I think he should probably end it by the end of the second round, personally.
Yep. The thing with Cody is it's not like Cowboy, who, when you see him struggle, it's more of he's a slow starter. Mm-hmm. Like, Cody always shows up, and he's his foot's on the pedal as soon as he's in the ring. The big thing for him is if he can keep his head on straight while he's in there. And you saw it the whole way through him winning the belt. He was just, I don't want to say outthinking guys, but was prepared for it. Like, he wasn't just going in there to brawl. He had a game plan.
Yep. And
just the rivalry with TJ, I think, he was fighting emotionally instead of with his head. There's no, as far as I know, there's no history between these guys. There shouldn't be any bad blood, so I don't think, there's no reason I would think that Cody's going to come in there fighting emotionally. Unless, like you said, those two losses and he's feeling the pressure and comes out wild. The big thing I would like to see, being a huge Cody fan, is I'm hoping they tightened up a little bit of that left hand dropping when he's throwing that right hook. Because now that that's been exposed, that's going to be something that everybody's looking for. So I'm hoping to see his boxing tightened up a little bit. Other than that, though, like you said, from what we've seen, there's absolutely no reason Cody shouldn't win this fight.
Agreed.
I've got it as a late knockout just because Munhoz hasn't been knocked out to this point. But I kind of see it. What I'm hoping in the way I'm seeing this is Cody putting on, maybe not to the level of what he did to Dominic Cruz, but sticking, moving, wearing him down, and then late in the fight landing that big shot to put him out.
Yeah, but agreed. Cody should win this fight, and hopefully we see one of those flashy Cody finishes again.
Oh, I hope so. It's gonna hurt me deeply if it doesn't.
I know the feeling.
So next we have Tisha Torres versus Weili Zhang.
Zhang is how I would guess it's pronounced. And this one is a little bit tricky in the sense that Zhang only has, 2 or 3 UFC fights?
Two UFC
fights. And statistically, when you look at this matchup, if you look at strikes landed, strikes absorbed, control, things of that nature, it really looks like Zhang should run away with this fight. And my only problem with that is when I look at it, and I think she's even a little bit taller. Torres is by no means that big of a fighter, especially.
Tisha is 5'1", Zhang is 5'4".
Yeah, so Zhang's definitely going to be the taller, longer fighter. And when it comes to striking, obviously that's going to play a huge role.
Oh, yeah.
The only problem with Zhang is when I'm looking at her stats that do look so good, especially with how many finishes and just everything looks so good on her record. But there's just not a whole lot of name value to the opponents that she's had, so it's hard to give full justification to those stats when you're unsure of the level of fighter that she's got to throw all those strikes against. So, whereas Tisha has fought a lot of the top of the women in that division, so this one is one I bounced back and forth on, and if Zhang can keep that same consistency she's had in each of her fights and carry that in and do that against Torres, I think she should take this decision hands down. But at the same time, in the back of my head, if Torres just is on another level than Zhang and has fought all these, higher ranked opponents, maybe we see the exact opposite. We see that kind of gatekeeper role of like, no, there's a difference in the people up here and the people trying to get there, kind of the thing.
I don't really have a whole lot to add to that. Tisha's more of a grinder. She has 1 finish in 13 career fights. Zhang is almost the exact opposite of that, where she only has 3 decisions in 19 career fights.
Yeah.
So, this could boil down to a matter of, can Zhang play the long game with Tisha?
Yeah.
Because if she kind of gasses out early, then Tisha's going to run away with those later rounds because she does not get tired. That being said, I'm going to roll with Zhang just because I'm going to roll with the up-and-comers most of this card. And I've never been super impressed with Tisha's fight style there, and I'm not familiar with Zhang at all, but just looking at the small sample size in the UFC, I'm gonna roll with that.
I'll give it to Zhang as well. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt that she'll be able to continue the same type of striking prowess she's had against other fighters. So I'll roll with her as well to catapult her up into the top 10 of that division.
Sounds good. So far, not many disagreements, if any. And I'm sure we're going to be rolling the same on this one, too.
Probably. And so when it comes to Ben Askren and Robbie Lawler, a big question mark is, what Robbie Lawler will we see on Saturday?
Yeah. Are we going to get Robbie that looked like an absolute, murderer for 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
He went on a hot streak there when he came back to the UFC and just didn't look like anybody was going to touch him.
He didn't look like a guy that you wanted to fight by any means. Every Robbie fight, he made grimy. Like, you looked at the opponent, both him and the opponent afterwards, and Robbie might have looked like hell, but the guy across the cage from him looked even worse.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep. Which makes this super interesting because Ben Askren probably has absorbed 10 total strikes in his career.
True. Very true.
So this is another striker-grappler matchup.
Yeah.
This fight is literally going to boil down to, can Robbie Lawler keep this standing? Because if Askren can take this to the ground, he's in for a long night. Lawler has a career 69% takedown defense. Obviously, this is Askren's debut in the UFC, so there's no stats on him to go off of. They're the same height. Askren is, I would say, a little thicker than Robbie, so that may help him once he gets down onto his legs.
Hold him down.
And the X factor, for Askren anyhow, is T. Wood is his
training with Woodley.
top training partner, who we saw
starched Lawler early. Yep. So, and that's one of the big things for me is if you are constantly training against the best welterweight in the world right now, in Tyron Woodley, Woodley's going to be very hard to take down. One, because he is a well-accomplished wrestler himself.
And he trains with Askren.
Well, even outside of that, the guy is super strong, well-accomplished wrestler, and he's dangerous to close the distance against.
Yep.
So if you are Askren and you have that guy to train with day in and day out, to me, when I look at this fight, when you have a guy like Tyron Woodley to train with every single day, and you have a camp with Woodley and his coach that have trained against guys like Robbie, things of that nature. You have a game plan set out. You know how to beat the guy, and you know Ben Askren, what he's going to do.
Yep.
You know, you have an Olympic wrestler. What's the Olympic wrestler going to do? He's going to take Lawler down. And I think that he's just going to 3-round decision him, in my opinion.
And speaking of Olympic-level wrestlers, we've seen 2 high-level ones, and they're both holding belts right now.
Yep.
In Cejudo and DC. So that's a big wild card. That's going to be a big help to him. Some of these guys that have tried to wrestle Robbie in this most recent run with the UFC haven't been super successful, but Johnny Hendricks was probably the best wrestler of that bunch, and he wasn't setting anything up. He was just shooting and trying to get in on his hips. I think Askren takes us to the ground, and I got him with a second-round sub. Robbie has 5 career submission losses. It looks like a big hole in his game. So it looks like if you can get him to the ground, there's going to be opportunities to finish it there. So I'm going to roll with second-round submission for Askren.
Sounds good. Then that takes us...
Co-main.
And speaking of Tyron Woodley, so the 3 things I listed off that Woodley's good at. So, great wrestler, lots of power. Athleticism. So, when it comes to that, I was going to say, he's really hard to take down.
Yep.
He's just super strong in general, no matter where. And then that right hand is just dangerous.
Yep.
And when you look at Kamaru Usman, he has a similar structure in the sense that strong wrestler, seems like a pretty strong guy.
Yep.
Hands kind of there, not all that great stand-up. We saw a little bit of it improve against RDA, but
I would say his striking style is similar to... I can't even think.
I was going to say he's kind of similar to Habib, that he wants to take to the ground.
Exactly.
But his hands are kind of...
There's power in his hands, but there's not a whole lot of technique there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're very similar fighters. I just think T Wood's
is better
at everything.
If you're going to check boxes in terms of who's better in each category, I think Woodley takes them all, and I don't see him losing.
Nope. I think really the only thing Usman has is length, and even that's not that pronounced. It's a 2-inch difference.
And when that's your main thing, look at Wonderboy.
Yep.
Woodley fought Wonderboy twice. Granted, they weren't super impressive or really amazing.
That first fight was fun.
Okay, the first one was a lot better.
The second fight was terrible.
But just talking about being able to control distance, that's not going to be a problem for him.
And the length thing kind of plays into what Woodley wants to do anyways, because he's not somebody that's pressuring. So you're not going to, as a longer guy, you kind of want that to be able to stifle him with jabs and front kicks and things of that nature. But Woodley pulls you to him. He's a counter striker. He's going to put his back foot against that fence, wait for you to come in. He's going to slide out of your punch.
Skadoosh!
Yeah. He just beat Darren Till, who was long as can be and was a striker whose striking is way above Usman's. So I just think that there's nothing Usman brings that Woodley's not going to have an answer for.
Yep, agreed.
Now, with that being said, Usman doesn't really get finished, so I got a decision, but...
I think, for me, I see it going a couple rounds and getting worn down a little bit, and I think maybe after Woodley goes up, maybe 2 rounds, he wins first 2 rounds, Usman's going to be like, well, I need to win these last 3, and so in the 3rd round, I think what's going to happen is that he's going to really try to push, be aggressive, get takedowns, and I think that's when Woodley's going to be like, oh, you're coming in, do that step back, boom.
Yep.
And whether you've been finished or not, Woodley can finish anyone. So I have 3rd round knockout for Tyron.
Now on to our main event, which when it was announced, I was kind of like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. But the closer it gets, I'm getting real excited for this fight. This could very well just be your typical John Jones. I'm just going to run over
clinic,
him.
yes.
But, I mean, if he overlooks Anthony Smith at all, his night could be over.
Yeah, so the way I see it, if this fight happens 100 times, Jon Jones probably wins at least 98 of them.
Yep.
I mean, from a technical standpoint, the way better, crisper, smarter fighter. And not the only thing, but the main thing that Anthony Smith has going for him is that Jon has this aura and this sense of like invincibility. Like, no one can beat me. I'm the best ever. And with coming back for a quick turnaround for another fight after he beat his hardest opponent ever relatively easily, he may have in his mind, okay, well, what am I going to do? I want to fight 4 times this year, so I'll beat this guy. And he already might be thinking about that next big paycheck, maybe come International Fight Week or something along those lines, that Smith goes, oh, okay, well, if you want to look past me, I'll just catch you real quick with one of these. So it's definitely possible, but I think, like I said earlier, Jon should win this fight.
Oh, yeah, if he comes in there in the right state of mind, there's absolutely no way he should lose this fight. Like you said, though, if he overlooks him, Smith is one of those guys that can put you on your ass real quick. Mm-hmm. This, for me, I've kind of been bouncing back and forth with it all week. It's more of a matter of I'm getting a real strong gut feeling one way and my head's saying another thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing to what you're saying is Jon overthinking this. Anthony Smith, I don't know if you've watched much of The Embedded.
He's definitely studied Jon's game a lot.
He studied Jon's game. I saw a little bit of what his coaches were teaching him, and that made me feel a little bit, because they were pointing out
talking
what
about like when they're on the
Gustafsson
ground, like
wrong.
when he needs to push his leg out of the way, things like that. Yeah.
Yep. And then what the Inside the Octagon with Dan Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things they said that Anthony Smith needs to do. Like, there's things that are like, it's kind of, this fight is a lot closer than it appears on paper. Anthony Smith has all the tools. The big thing for him...
Smith is a taller guy, too. I think he's 6'5", at 205. Jones is obviously going to be taller and longer
range,
fighter.
Almost 10-inch range advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big thing, on paper, using my head, the big thing is Anthony Smith does not have a good takedown defense. He's under 50%. And, I mean, if Jon feels like he's losing on the feet, that's where the fight's going. But they're just small things I've been picking up on all the content UFC's been putting out, and it's giving me that strong gut feeling about Anthony Smith. He went on... what's Matt Serra's show? Unfiltered.
Oh, yeah.
And was like, they were basically saying, there's no pressure on me. Like, I'm not given any chance to win this. So, I go in there and get starched. That's what was supposed to happen anyways. So that kind of alleviates a lot of the pressure on him. And it's just... So, my gut's telling me that Anthony Smith, I'm getting a strong gut feeling to sound the upset alarms. That being said, I'm going to roll with my head. I'm going to take the smart pick. Yeah. I'm taking Jones by second round submission. But, I mean, if Smith pulls this out, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, I personally think Jones will dominate this fight. I'm not the biggest Jones fan over what's happened in the past couple of years, but you can't deny the guy's skill. He's just one of the most skilled martial artists of all time, and so I think... third round TKO finish for Jones, in my opinion. So, that will wrap up our UFC 235 predictions. So, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like. And if you want to see more of these in the future, make sure to hit subscribe. We have a Twitter. FNC_MMA, and a Facebook, also Fight Night Central. So, if you guys are looking for any sort of MMA information, predictions, random tweets during the actual fight cards themselves of how we think each fight is going, things of that nature, be sure to hop on over and give us a follow.
Yep. Not this past fight card from Europe, but the Kane and Ngannou one.
Yeah.
I live tweeted that whole card.
Yep.
So, going forward, at least the cards we watch together, you'll probably run the Twitter, and then I'll do it from Facebook. So,
yep.
Just to get your thoughts. Be sure to drop any questions you have on this video, on the pages, anything you'd like us to talk about. Any and all feedback is welcome, guys.
Yep, we'd appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one.